In 1840, an enslaved Black female pitmaster cooked a July 4th barbecue for the ages, displaying a level of expertise and authority that contrasted starkly with her status. The roots of barbecue can be traced back to enslaved individuals on sweaty plantations in the Deep South, where they took their own culinary traditions and infused them with those of indigenous people to create something brand new. So today we're going to talk about the forgotten story of the Black Pitmaster. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. But without further ado, let's get started. The origins of barbecue are believed to lie with Native Americans who practiced slow cooking over an open flame long before European settlers arrived. However, the advent of the transatlantic slave trade brought brand new elements to this culinary practice. Enslaved Africans, drawing on their own rich culinary traditions, began to infuse and shape what we now recognize as American barbecue. Their techniques and flavors transformed the simple act of cooking meat over a fire into an art form that emphasized slow cooking and distinct flavor profiles. But let's go back. The first Spanish explorers embarked on the New World in the 15th century. They were fascinated by the techniques employed by the indigenous Taino people. They would slow cook meat on wooden structures over an open fire, a method that they termed barbacoa. This exact method enthralled the explorers so much that they incorporated the term barbacoa into their Spanish lexicon, eventually transforming it into barbecue. But the story of barbecue doesn't end with Spanish explorers. These explorers took this cooking method of barbacoa with them to North America, where it was adopted by the local people and the English colonizers. The first known written method of pork barbecue was in December of 1540 near what is now Tupelo, Mississippi. The historical records note of a remarkable culinary exchange facilitated by Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto and the Chickasaw tribe. They would share a feast of pork that had been brought from Spain and prepared using the barbacoa technique. This form of cooking, where food was slowly smoked over an open flame, began to take root in the region and become the foundation of what we now recognize as American barbecue. By the 16th to 17th century, barbecue had gradually began to embed itself into Southern America. Evidence of this can be found in paintings from the 16th century from French explorer Jacques Monod, the Native Americans in Florida utilizing wood frames over burning logs to cook various types of fish, mammals, and reptiles. This period would mark the convergence of indigenous techniques with new ingredients and methods that were introduced by European explorers. However, the practice would take on a new dimension during the era of slavery. Enslaved Black pitmasters played an integral role in the preparation of food for large gatherings held on southern plantations. African Americans made up 90% of the cooks on these plantations. Preparing food for such large groups required not only considerable skill, but the mastery of resource management. These pitmasters honed their craft in an environment where their contributions were systematically oppressed, even though their culinary expertise was indispensable. Barbecue wasn't an everyday occurrence. It was typically reserved for special occasions, holidays, and significant events like political gatherings. Antebellum barbecues were ostentatious affairs designed to highlight the wealth and social status of the slave owners. These events reinforced the existing brutal societal hierarchies while showcasing the remarkable skill of the enslaved individuals that orchestrated them. The preparation process was elaborate, requiring the barbecue team to take on various roles, such as slaughtering the meat, managing the complex logistics of the event. Despite these harsh conditions, by the 1830s, barbecue became such an essential aspect of Southern cuisine that it was widely believed that only Black cooks could truly execute it properly. African American cooks were often viewed as the bearers of authentic barbecue. A great example of this is Mary John, Born in 1780 in Arkansas under French rule, despite her exceptional cooking skills, her prospects beyond confinement were brutally limited. In the early 1800s, she would marry a man by the name of Michel Braun, who was a white hunter, and this legitimized her children's status, but didn't elevate her own enslaved conditions. So by 1811, Mary John found herself bought by a Colonel James Cole, during which time she would change her name from Marie to Mary John. Mary John's remarkable barbecuing skills would soon be widely recognized. In 1840, she orchestrated a substantial July 4th barbecue in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, acting as what we would now call a pitmaster. Though she was still enslaved, she commanded a team composed almost entirely of men and displaying a level of expertise and authority that you just did not see from enslaved women. Mary John would go on to purchase her freedom later that year for $800, which is the equivalent of $29,000 in today's money. Upon gaining her freedom, Mary John chose to remain in the South and carve out a place for herself as an entrepreneur. Her inn in Arkansas gained legendary status for its exceptional food, but her achievements continued to exist within the framework of systemic exploitation and oppression. And this is a plight that you will continue to see with enslaved cooks and enslaved Africans in general. Enslaved Black cooks demonstrated remarkable culinary creativity by refining the art of barbecue amidst severe limitations. These skilled chefs mastered the laborious process of building fires, maintaining constant temperatures, expertly handling meat, achieving the perfect texture and flavor despite being provided with the least desirable, toughest cuts of meat. They used their knowledge of seasoning and slow cooking methods to transform these overlooked cuts into delicious food. During the mid-1800s, it was widely believed that proper barbecue necessitated a Black cook and his team, with the term pitmaster coming to represent this crucial role. Moving forward to the emancipation, it marked a pivotal moment in our history as it allowed formerly enslaved individuals to pursue economic independence in various fields, including the culinary arts. Many of them would become freelance barbecue cooks, a profession which allowed them to utilize their expertise in barbecue. Black pitmasters began to commercialize their skills by opening up eateries and catering events. They often showcase their signature dishes at local festivals, political rallies, and church gatherings, using these events as a platform for community building and social activism. These gatherings underscore the role of barbecue as a connector of the community, linking people to shared experiences through the universal language of food. By the early 20th century, these Black pitmasters had solidified their presence in the burgeoning barbecue industry, predominantly in the southern states. However, during the Great Migration, urban barbecue restaurants sprang up in cities like Chicago, New York, and Detroit. Not only shifted Black demographics, but it also introduced a rich culinary tradition to brand new regions, thereby transforming the nation's culinary landscape. Throughout the 20th century, Black pitmasters would earn a reputation for their culinary skill and innovation. However, there was a new shift in the barbecue landscape. White individuals increasingly dominate the business, often benefiting indirectly from the Black culinary experience. A prominent example of this is a man by the name of John Calloway, a white sheriff in Georgia who gained national prominence and fame for his barbecue at the 1895 Cotton States and International Exposition in Atlanta. Visual records of the event revealed that Black men did most of the actual labor, while all Calloway did was assume a supervisory role, obscuring the role of Black culinary expertise behind the veil of his success. And by 1930, the term pitmaster had become common enough that it appeared in newspapers, yet frequently referred to the white supervisors instead of the Black barbecuers who were doing most of the work. Despite these shifts, Black pitmasters continued to adapt, persevere. Their influence would continue to spread, and African Americans were pivotal in demonstrating real Southern barbecue across many different regions. A great example of this is Henry Perry, who's often hailed as the father of Kansas City barbecue. transforming the culinary landscape of Kansas City in the early 1900s. He emerged from humble beginnings in the Deep South, where he moved to Kansas City and began selling barbecue commercially, which was the first for the era, even though barbecue had been present in Kansas City since the mid-1850s. Perry's innovative method of smoking meat over a unique blend of woods established the foundation of what will become the world-renowned Kansas City barbecue scene. Among the 27 inductees in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, Henry Perry holds the distinction of being the only African-American to receive this honor. As Black Pitmasters began to gain recognition, figures like Henry Perry or Arthur Bryant elevated barbecue from rustic down-home food to a celebrated aspect of American cuisine. And despite this prestige, Black Pitmasters still face immense economic, social hardships due to discriminatory practices and limited business opportunity and recognition. Many of their recipes and techniques were co-opted by white-owned businesses, with their original Black creators remaining largely uncredited. Even today, systemic challenges like access to capital or equitable opportunities for entrepreneurship still exist. Despite these hurdles, Black-owned barbecue establishments have seen a resurgence. According to recent demographic studies, there has been a noticeable increase in Black-owned restaurants, including barbecue joints, across the United States. For instance, the United States saw a 12% increase in Black-owned restaurants from 2016 to 2020, a testament to the entrepreneurial spirit. Notable figures like Rodney Scott, who won this prestigious James Beard Award, exemplifies the success and recognition that modern pitmasters can achieve. His success story is a beacon of inspiration and demonstrates while challenges continue to remain, excellence and dedication can lead to a rightful acknowledgement and celebration of Black contributions to American cuisine. So, as we continue to savor the smoky flavors of barbecue, let us not merely taste the meat, but also the poignant stories of those enslaved individuals who stood over the flames, carving out a place in American history with every tender cut. Thank you. I'm your host, Country Boy, and this has been the Forgotten History of Black Pitmasters. If you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemouthhistory.com. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so on my Patreon page in the description below. I would like to give thanks to all my financial contributors. Without you, none of this could be possible. And peace.